Rail Commission and the San Joaquin Valley Joint Powers Association. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. Commission members, Marchand,
Here.
Salwan, Ariola,
Present.
Supervisor Ding, Fugazi, Morowit,
Present.
Vice Chair Zuber,
Present.
Chair Craig Hensley.
Here.
Thank you. Ex officio members, do we have anyone on from StanCog? SJRTD,
Ken Baxter here.
SJCOG,
Freddie Valdez.
Caltrans.
This is Tom Dumas.
Thank you. And I do see, okay. And then directors, Chiesa,
I'm here.
alternate Rodriguez,
I'm here.
Halbert, Valdez, Shuklian, alternate Zuber,
Here.
Pedroza,
Sorry, Valdez here.
Here.
Vice Chair Burgess,
Here.
Vice Chair Hume,
Here.
Chair Verboen.
Here.
Thank you. We do have quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a quorum, so we'll conduct business today. At this time, would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance that we salute our nation's flag, but I don't see our nation's flag anywhere. So we'll object. There we go. Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. We'll turn the meeting over to Brian Smith for a safety briefing.
Good morning. This morning, we're at 555 East Weber Street in Stockton, California, 95202. We have a head count of 34 people. Restroom locations, the men's restroom, if you go to my left around the corner, there's the men's, the women's, you go the right around the corner. For 911, we'll have Jackie. She'll call 911. CPR is Cameron. Linda, who should be up here, she will be our runner. She has a key fob, unless you have it, Jenny. Okay, that'll be Linda. AED and first aid kit is right behind the board on a table against the window. Active shooter. This is a very open area. There's really no place to hide. The restrooms do not lock. So first thing we'll do, we will run. We can exit out the exit to my left. If that's not unavailable, then you go around to my right in the back, and we'll go down the stairs, out the building, and we'll rally across the street where the 10-hour parking is. So today there are no drills scheduled. So any alarm goes off, we'll treat it as an emergency when we evacuate the building. Like I mentioned, using the available stairwells. And that's all I've got right now. And we'll be hopefully have a safe meeting, and we'll go from here.
Okay, Brian, thank you very much. Don't get in my way. Okay, we'll go ahead to public comments. Persons wishing to address the Rail Commission and or the authority on any items of interest to the public regarding the rail shall state their names and addresses to make their presentation. Please limit presentations to 5 minutes. The Rail Commission and authority cannot take action on matters not on the agenda unless the actions is authorized by section 54954.2 of the Government Code. Materials related to an item on the agenda submitted to the boards after distribution of the agenda packet are available for public inspection in the Rail Commission and the authority offices at San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission website as stated, and the San Joaquin Joint Powers website as stated, subject to staff ability to post the documents prior to the meeting. Do we have any public comments that are online?
Seeing none online.
Do we have anybody in the audience?
Seeing none.
Seeing none, we'll move on now to the consent calendar. Item 5.1. What's the board's direction?
If there's no public comment, I'll move consent.
Comment, I'd go ahead and move consent.
We have a motion to move and we have a second.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. This is for directors and regular voting members of the commission only. Directors, Chiesa,
Aye.
alternate Rodriguez,
Aye.
Valdez,
Aye.
Shuklian,
Aye.
Alternate Zuber,
Aye.
Pedroso,
Aye.
Vice Chair Burgess,
Aye.
Vice Chair Hume,
Aye.
Chair Verboen.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners Ariola,
Yes.
Morowit,
Yes.
Vice Chair Zuber,
Yes.
Chair Craig Hensley.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
So I didn't ask if there are any comments from the public.
Thank you. Seeing none online.
Do we have anybody in the audience that has a comment?
Seeing none.
Okay, item passes. Thank you very much. Item number 6 is addressing homelessness in the rail corridors, focus on Stockton. Thank you.
All right.
Cameron,
Good morning,
right?
commissioners, members of the board. My name is Cameron Polaire, Safety and Security Specialist. Today, I'll be presenting our response to homelessness in the rail corridors focused on the Stockton area. Homelessness is a complex crisis that impacts some of the most vulnerable members of our society. Many individuals experiencing homelessness face significant challenges, including trauma, mental illness, substance abuse disorders, and the lack of access to stable housing and healthcare. While compassion and empathy for their situation must remain central to our response, it is also important to acknowledge the broader effects that homeless encampments have on the surrounding areas. Trespassing encampments present significant challenges for the communities and businesses, creating serious health and safety issues and risk the public safety. And they also promote they can also promote disease transmission, increased substance abuse, and conflicts that endanger both the encampment residents and the neighboring communities. There it is. So in response to the safety and security concerns, under Mayor Fugazi's leadership, Stockton has taken a decisive action as the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission partners with the Stockton Police Department, Union Pacific, BNSF Railway, and the local community leaders. This joint task force is committed to addressing homelessness effectively while upholding the dignity and respect of everyone involved. The task force primary objective is to mitigate encampments along the right-of-way and the properties and develop strategies in preventing future trespassing. Okay, this slide here displays significant transformation of properties cleared by the JTF, illustrating before and after results. All right, we have the Stockton Market Street, Scotts, and also right on Aurora Street as well. This slide right here shows the right-of-way areas impacted by homelessness that were cleared by UPRR and BNSF. And this last slide depicts infrastructure modifications that UPR has made to deter trespassing, which includes repurposed railroad materials strategically placed in high traffic encampment areas alongside the right-of-way. And so far, it has been very effective. I'll close with this. The presence of homeless encampments can impact nearby businesses and communities and the safety of individuals facing these challenges. By collaborating effectively, we can work towards a constructive solution that addresses the needs for both the communities and the businesses and people experiencing homelessness, ultimately fostering a safer and more thriving environment for everyone. That is it in my presentation. I'll take any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the board members? Yes, sir.
Questions. So there are illegal activities that occur along the right of way in
sir.
Livermore. And one of the impediments that we've had is the city of Livermore staff are not allowed to trespass on Union Pacific right of way.
Yes.
So how does this partnership work? Are the staff allowed to go onto the UPRR right of way, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. So pretty much what we've done with Stockton PD and UP and BNSF is we gave BNSF and UPR created a letter basically giving them authorization to access specific areas alongside the right of way. Now, what we also do is we have a special agent that we reach out to just to verify the amount of feet it is from the tracks. And that way we get, hey, we're going to be coming out here, mitigating this area. It's about 30 feet from the tracks. It's not found in line. And they give us kind of the authority to do that. So we really try to communicate that out, that there is an area that we're focusing on. And if UP or BNSF can't handle it, then city can jump in and mitigate it as best we can as long as we have funding available, right? But there is a letter that UPRR and BNSF wrote to Stockton PD allowing them access. And we're doing the same thing for our realm or for our facilities, right? For the RMF, Cabral, and all of our stations. We drafted a letter allowing PD to access areas that is closed off to the public for trespassing mitigation. So really just allowing us to go in there. Now, where it comes a little bit, how could I say this? We have to make sure we're not found in line. We're not so close to the track where it could cause an issue. So then that's why we reach out to the special agents to let them know, hey, we're going to mitigate this area. We have the authorization letter. We just want to make sure that you guys are good with us going out there. And mainly we try to do that when they can't handle the situation themselves due to the amount of the areas that they cover. UP has a lot of areas of track that they have to, cover, right? And they only have a select few agents. So they do try to mitigate it as fast as they can, but there are times where they're backed up. So that's when we try to step in with the JTF, the Joint Task Force, to say, hey, we have this issue here. Here's our plan of action. Do we have authorization to do that? We take anything that you guys think that we should do better. And if they say, hey, it's too close to the track, we can't be there, we can't allow that, they'll put it on their schedule and we'll mitigate it as best we can. So
Okay, because we've had issues with graffiti on some of the UPRR buildings.
Yeah.
And it's been, sometimes up to a year or more.
Yeah.
Trying to get this abated. And of course, the longer it stays there, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
And it just
Yeah.
attracts more. So if you could, I'll talk to you after the meeting, but if I could get a copy of that letter.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
so we could use that as a template so that we could access to abate these illegal issues.
Yeah,
Appreciate
definitely.
that.
Yeah, a year long is way too long to mitigate issues, right? A lot of times with encampments, they go to places that are out of sight, out of mind, businesses that are shut down. Unfortunately, the railway is a lot of open land where it is out of sight, out of mind, but then it affects the neighboring houses, our rail line, and the host railroad. So definitely we're trying to go this route to prevent it from taking so long to be handled. But at the same time, we want to make sure that it's consistent on how we're handling every situation.
Okay, great. I'll talk to you after the meeting. Thank you.
Perfect.
Oh, very good. Any other questions? Stacy?
I think I just might add, we have one Cameron. And between the ACE corridor that the Rail Commission oversees is 86 miles. The JPA San Joaquin corridor is 375 miles. And we've got 11 counties. We have 25-ish cities, all with local response teams. And then we have the two host railroads. And so when you look at that, there's very little time. We're the top dog and we can drive what happens, but we tend to find ourselves in a broker role. Hey, can you give me a number? At some point we'll have to get another Cameron because that is an urgency now for all of you that didn't exist before when we set up our staffing structure and what our safety and security coordinator would do. So we'll continue to play that for you to the extent we can. What we do see though is what is urgent for the railroads who has a 17 or 3,000 mile network versus a city versus a county versus our property where something's on fire. All the urgencies are different depending on the beholder. And so the Joint Task Force are a great way to go because you get everybody aligned at least to focus on this one task. And I think one task at a time sometimes is all we can do. So just a note, it's been an interesting ride how our involvement has become more central to this effort.
Yeah, we'd like to do a shared resources too. Any best practice that other agencies are doing, we'll adopt it and we'll meet with them. We try to take into consideration what everyone else is doing, right? Not one glove fits all, but maybe we can mold to where it's going to fit what we're doing for the time being.
Yeah. So one thing I like to add to it, it's not illegal to be homeless.
Yeah.
And you just can't go on and harass somebody because they're homeless.
Yes.
You need to have an ordinance in your community that allows no camping because once they set up shop or set up a community out there, it's hard to move them. And then you're responsible to move the whole entire encampment.
Mm-hmm.
You also need the property owner's permission to enter the property and remove them off the property. So it takes a coordination between everybody. So if you don't have an ordinance in your community, it'd be nice to have one, no camping.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not illegal to be homeless. We got to do what we can to keep the trains moving without the strikes. I know I've talked to my sheriff and my city policemen to please do what they can to keep people off the tracks because we are having some mental illness with some suicides and it's causing delays, which are causing all kinds of problems, not just for us, but for the UP and Santa Fe. So this is a simple thing to remind yourself that it's not illegal to be homeless, but it's illegal to move them. So you got to have an ordinance that states that they have a place to go.
Absolutely.
Do we have any other comments from the board?
Just
Yes,
one
ma'am.
as
brief-
Yes.
sorry. Just a follow up because this has been a real issue in Lodi. Rail ties that are being basically stacked along. This is a constant issue with UP, and I don't know if others are dealing with this, but it's resulted in fires that have destroyed businesses along the rail tracks. So that's something we're dealing with, and that's where the tie to the UP police comes in.
Okay.
It's critical that the police departments are in touch with each other. And you're absolutely right, because it's right next to residential areas. We've lost a warehouse for a local company because of it. And we're losing businesses that are leaving that area because of it. The other thing that's a sensitive area is the waterways underneath trestles.
Yes.
So it's becoming an environmental problem, and UP owns those right of ways,
Yes.
the trestles and the right of ways. So again, sometimes our PD just go in and do what they can to assist those individuals. But the reality is it is having environmental impacts there as well. So it's good to hear how other cities are working this.
Sure.
It would be nice to share those success cases across, our full corridor, whether it's ACE or it's with Valley Rail, because I think we learn a lot from each other. So thank you for this update. And yes, Stacy, you need more staff. So.
Thank you. Mike, you have another comment?
Yeah, just briefly. So just so I understand, so I'm a little bit newer to the commission.
Sure.
What we've done in Manteca is it's a kind of a twofold. We have Caltrans issues.
Yeah.
We have some issues with the rail.
I'm part of them too. The strike force team at Caltrain. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with
So
them
that
too,
does.
yeah.
So a lot of times Manteca PD, and I've gone out with them several times, we'll go out and they'll notify CHP that they're going to be out there. And sometimes they say, hey, we don't have anybody available, so go ahead
Yeah.
and do it.
Yeah.
So I found it's just more of a courtesy thing to let people know, like yourself.
Mhm.
You guys, I don't know, what do you have, like one officer on duty for like 100 miles?
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
pretty incredible. So
Yeah.
To do it so long areas, because Manteca has 13 crossings. I mean, we have.
Yeah, we're out there right now. So and that's absolutely right. So the biggest thing is it's more professional courtesy, right? Hey, we're going to go out there. And honestly, if like UP can't get out there, like a situation we're dealing with in Stockton here, right? Well, if you guys can't put on the schedule, we have the availability. Do we have authorization to go out there? At the end of the day, we're making the job easier for UP, right? But then we don't want to just band-aid things, right? We want to look at the root of it, right? The access ways, not just clean the area up, right? Because as soon as we clean the area up, unfortunately, a couple of days later, someone else moves in. So definitely that's one of the things we do is reaching out like, hey, we have this issue out there. Do we have permission, or what do you suggest we do? But that's the biggest thing, just try to communicate that and then just take best practices that other counties, other cities are doing and just try to implement to see what's the best plan of action, how we can mitigate that.
So that's what we did, like kind of a hybrid approach. We make sure we notify, we have a city ordinance for
Yep.
camping.
Yep.
We actually take people to jail for warrants.
Yes.
For small as they may be or not. So it's been very good, especially since the last 6-8 months, since
Yeah.
the laws have changed.
Oh yeah.
So we haven't had near the issue anymore, and along that corridor, along 99, 120, along the railroad tracks.
Oh yeah.
Was
Mhm.
yeah,
I know
pretty.
exactly
And then
what you're talking
we've even gone one step further. We found that when these folks have dogs.
Yes.
Yes. So I remember going out one night. It was just incredible. The woman didn't really mind being arrested, quite frankly. She was very upset. We were taking the dog.
Yeah.
So the following time they kind of debriefed, and now we have animal control follow behind us. And then they
You almost have to. The animals are getting
then
pretty.
the argument's
yeah,
not
yeah.
a big deal. You give them a number and they come on Monday when they get released and they get the dog. So
Yeah.
all these little things, like I said, I'm surprised Livermore hasn't jumped on that. You just ask permission, and I find that everybody's. If you don't ask permission, everybody gets a little weird, to be honest. But
Exactly.
if you ask permission, it seems like it just has worked out quite well. And like I say, you're stretched really thin compared to
Yeah.
most agencies.
And also it puts the ball back in their court, like, hey, this is your area, but we're trying to help you. So, it kind of gives them like, hey, this is your area, you need to reconsider it. It's also not affecting other businesses and other communities too. And we try to approach it. I try to approach it in a way where it's very respectful for all parties, right, including the occupants. But really just to hold cities accountable, like, hey, we're dealing with the same issue. We have what is working for us. We'd like to share with you and how we can work together. So that's
Much
pretty
better.
much it.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yes, sir.
So Dan Ariola, Mayor of Tracy, I just wanted to highlight that we do a similar approach in Tracy. It's been successful. However, as a lawyer, I understand that there are legal challenges that make this
Sure.
incredibly challenging. And I wanted to highlight, I believe it's SB 569. It's one of the priority bills with the League of California Cities. I, along with others, including Chair Craig, went to advocate on its behalf with state legislatures, which would allow more facilitated approach
Okay.
to allow contracting to address this. So I'd maybe suggest that perhaps these bodies advocate, write letters for that particular bill, which would be SB 569.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
There we go. But yeah, I understand the how everybody's staff is stretched thin,
Sure.
and you got thousands of miles of right of way, and that's why I think something like this, a cooperative effort, because with a gallon of paint in a half an hour, we can abate the issue,
Yeah.
and it's going to take UP anywhere from a year to a year and a half to get out there. So if we can set up this cooperative agreement, that just makes it better for everybody.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. That's the ultimate goal, right? We're all dealing with the same issues. It's affecting everyone. All we're doing is trying to have more strategies and mitigation processes that's going to help us effectively, not just band-aid the situation, right? But to effectively fix the situation or to mitigate as best as we can.
as I say, there's no silver bullet,
Yeah.
but we've got silver buckshot.
There you go. That works too. That works
Yeah.
too.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no more questions from the board, do I go to the audience on this?
We do have a board member online with a
Okay.
hand raised. Alternate Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you. Chair Verboen, thank you again. I just had a question regarding the funding side of it. I know that as the previous speaker mentioned, we're all spread thin when it comes to homelessness. We don't have we're not flush with cash to try to address the certain concerns. But now, does BNSF or the UP provide any monetary funding for any of these collaborative solutions that you spoke on?
So they don't, for BNSF and the host railroads, UPR, they're not giving us funds for it. We're pretty much having to have our own budget separate from that. We actually increased our budget for homeless mitigation for this year, but really just to have them, since it's their rail line in their area, have them address it. And if they can't, then we'll use what we can. We are limited, so a budget is something that we have to consider. And that's something that I'm working on, whether it's in the form of grants, whether it's form of increasing budgets, or hey, reaching out, maybe MOUs when we get this JTF kind of up and running, and just kind of go through the orders of if we can get budgets, we can pretty much do as much as we can. We can do anything if we have the budget for it, right? But at the end of the day, that's one of the hardest things to do is to secure a budget. So I am currently looking on ways on how we can budget that, but that's something we are definitely considering.
Yes, thank you. And I guess the question was, is there a reluctancy in requesting that there be any fund for these collaborative solutions with both of these rail lines?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear with the first part.
Is there a reluctancy of us requesting any funds to help for these collaborative solutions?
I wouldn't say we can't. We can request, but that's some of the areas that I'll be looking into with the JTF and how we can request those funds. So,
thank you. That's all I have, Chair Verboen.
Okay, thank you very much. We have other hands raised online too.
It is a member of the public. So are we open?
If the board is done with questions, we'll go to the public.
Perfect. Thank you. We have a Ryan Snow. I will allow to talk now.
Hey, Ryan, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Ryan Snow. I'm a frequent rider from Bakersfield to Sacramento. I ride twice a week. So thank you for having me. And on this issue, I was just curious if the board has reached out to the numerous homeless shelters that are available throughout California for assistance. Maybe a community outreach, educating the homeless to stay away.
Good question.
yeah. So we do reach out. We're part of a bigger team that involves a lot of community, not communities, but agencies that go out and provide those services. So we do reach out to the shelters. We've done events where we've gone out there, handed out items, right? Talk to the people. That's usually our first approach, right? I'll reach out to SJ Cares or the areas of Lathrop and Tracy, who they use, and we'll say, hey, we have this issue. We try to mitigate that. They'll send someone out there to go talk to them. So we do try to reach out to the shelters and give them a way to, hey, you know what, you're in this situation. We understand. Here's maybe something you can use or a resource they can go to. Unfortunately, what we're starting to see is a lot of these occupants just choose to not want these resources. Unfortunately, some have tried, but in these shelters, there's rules that they have to follow in order to stay there. And a lot of the occupants don't want to follow those rules. So it's more of a choice. They'd like to be out there for whatever reason. It could be many reasons, right? But a lot of it is, unfortunately, people who don't want the resources. They are, to me, what I've seen, they're fine where they're at. But then it causes the issues if we don't do nothing about it. So we do try to go out there and offer help, right? Offer ways to get out of that situation. But ultimately, it's up to the person that wants to take that next step.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ryan. Any other questions from the public?
Seeing none online.
Anybody in the audience?
Seeing none.
Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much.
you.
Hopefully we can figure this out someday.
Yeah.
Together, yes. Okay, we'll go on now to item number 7, Valley Rail status update. Good morning.
Good morning, Good morning, commissioners and members of the board. We'll go ahead and get started with the Valley Rail status update. And for our first slide, I think Stacy, our executive director, will go ahead and start.
Took myself off. Just to remind the joint board, we periodically come to you together to talk about the status of Valley Rail and maybe some other side relevant projects. But as we last met, the Station and Facilities Committee, which is an active committee created by the Rail Commission ordinance, which lets that body make all the decisions about rolling the projects forward, contracts, task orders, construction, project completion. All of that goes through this committee. Our members on the committee are Leo Zuber, Lisa Craig Hensley, Pat Hume, and Vito Chiesa. So we have a good representation of at least this first section that we're building on the Valley Rail corridor. And from that committee, and we reported to this board, there was a real interest in pursuing as early as possible service that people could see. We did debate about should it be construction they see or the service they see first. And the early service is probably the more difficult and time consuming option, but it was what we felt we needed to pursue and chase down to the furthest extent. We had a focus on delivering to Stanislaus County first, where they've been on the books for a long time to get expanded A service, but also, as long as it didn't impede the southern work, to in parallel pursue the interim service to the Sacramento region up to Natomas. The committee also recommended, and you adopted, that we try to find new funding sources as time goes on, the projects get more expensive or as complexities arise, to bundle the projects where we could to get economies of scale and achieve some cost savings that help offset any increased costs. And then as a last resort, look to transfer program funding for other projects that might be later in the program and subject to getting approval from those funding bodies. But those were sort of the key drivers that we discussed last time. So since that time, we've received several rounds of UP modeling work. The railroads, both of them for us, require that they do the modeling to figure out what projects that are needed to slip in passenger trains amongst their freight trains. We identified the highest priority projects, things that, trickle down and have a domino effect. We want to make sure we get the first projects out first so that we have most rationalized program delivery tactics. We looked at whether we could create some interim boarding locations as part of the early service that wouldn't have to wait until full station development. We also looked at some potential interim layover locations. And then we had to look at, if we didn't build all the improvements that UP stated at the beginning that were necessary for service, what kind of schedule impacts we might have if we tried to pull some of those projects out and build them at a later time. So all of that work has been going on. Christine Inouye is going to explain to you today. She is our new capital programs director on staff, which we've waited for quite some time. We're very happy that she's here. And so she's been digging into this. She's got a little bit more digging to do, but she's going to give you her just first perspective on the program and give you a little bit more detail on what we did in that intervening time.
Right, so thank you. So starting with the Lathrop Y. Initially, we were looking to build only the Y, which is the portion, the uppermost portion of what you see in orange, which connects the two railroad lines and operate on a single track. We felt that this was the only way to expedite construction, expedite the interim service, but still providing a benefit to UP by connecting the two. When we went to UP and had those discussions, their response was that in order to maintain their operations, we would need to build the entire project, which would be the Y plus 4 miles of double track, which is what the portion in orange displays. This is to maintain their operations, their connections with the industries and short lines, but more importantly, it provides a connection to their intermodal yard, which is just north of the Lathrop Y location. This response from UP has had a tremendous impact or huge impact on what we were planning to do here at the Lathrop Y. It adds tremendous complexities to the design. We could potentially be seeing 6 new phases of construction as we build and connect the double track while still maintaining UP's operations. This is significantly more design, more construction. And so that was their response here at the Y. For the interim boarding locations, at the joint meeting from last summer, there were 3 potential interim boarding locations identified. The first one was at 9th Street Needham in Modesto. This location posed a number of challenges. Potential supplemental CEQA assessment, additional and extensive drainage, traffic, permitting, and some additional costs. So the second location, which is at the Modesto Transit Center at K Street, after our discussions with UP, this was really a non-starter for them. And they said no. The Modesto Empire Traction Company does their switching in this area. And even if we wanted to consider this, we would have to accelerate a double track project, which we had already agreed to defer to a later portion and do that work upfront. So the third location was the Keys interim boarding. And this is at the layover station in Keys. It would be only a temporary site until the Modesto station was open. And since it's at the layover site, it would be very minimal boarding facility, minimal cost. But as you can see on the map, Keys is further south of Modesto and in the opposite direction of travel for our trains. Now in the south, UP also confirmed that there would be some additional projects that would be needed for service based on their operations modeling. The first one is the Newark Albray siding in Fremont. This is a siding with 3 at-grade crossings and a slew bridge. And then also the Agnew siding, which is in Santa Clara County. It is a Capital Corridor JPA project. And so our team is coordinating with SJRRC to try to expedite the construction of this particular project. But UP had one additional requirement for these 2 projects since they are in the Bay Area. They are requiring no construction for either of these projects during the Super Bowl and the FIFA World Cup. Both of these are huge sporting events. They're going to be hosted at Levi Stadium. One is in February, Super Bowl, and then the World Cup will be in June and July of 2026. So this requirement complicates our construction to be able to sequence it so that we can accommodate these no construction windows, but still construct it efficiently and then as quickly as we can. So in summary, these are the projects that we are looking at for Valley Rail for the south. They're shown here in blue. We've also added on the bottom the Modesto and the Ceres station, which are underway in the design phase currently. On the right, you see the 3 projects that the committee had deferred, but UP also agreed that we could continue to defer them. That would be the Ripon Station, the Stanislaus River Bridge, and the Tuolumne River Bridge. And there are some, UP did provide relief on some of these projects overall in the Valley Rail, but we do have some other projects that we still need to work through. And you can see them here in the lower right-hand corner, the Manteca Station, the North Lathrop Transfer Station, the Turlock Station, and the Ceres to Turlock double track.
I think before you leave that, can we pop back one?
Yes.
So at the outset of the program, basically any railroad, UP, BNSF, any of the ones back east, you express what you want to do. We'd like to run this many trains. We'd like to run them between these points. We want to run them in the commute period, or we want to run them throughout the day. The proposing entity needs to outline that for the railroad. They come back with their modeling. Generally, it's a big, long list. And in every case, it includes double track. Because with freight trains moving, it is not possible to operate passenger trains woven into that without a lot of double track sections. And those of you who've ridden any of the services know if we get stuck in a siding because of freight trains going by, that's usually because there's not enough double track in that area. So the committee asked that the Ripon project is Ripon Station and a long siding. The Stanislaus River Bridge has approach sidings. The Tuolumne River Bridge has quite a bit of double track. So when we got UP to pull those out, because they're very long lead, the bridges are very long lead time, but it made the other double tracking that we had hoped to get rid of more critical for just general network movement, in addition to overlaying passenger trains. So we made a run at it. I think we were aware they would be defensive about that. And as you see, their intermodal yard is just to the north of that Lathrop Y crossing location. And that's a huge commercial operation for them. So we sort of worked it backwards. Okay, let's try to build a small Y. And we knew they'd come back and say, no, we build trains there. We're slowing trains down. We're accelerating trains out. You have to build that 4-mile double track section. And then we tried to pull each one off, right? Well, how about no Modesto double track? Or how about no Ceres double track? So through the committee's direction, we did take a stab at removing all of those. But I think those top 3 projects that you see deferred made it almost impossible to defer any of the other double track in the area. If you're familiar with it, I think you would see, yeah, have to have it here and have to have it here. So I just want to say the committee gave pretty fierce direction with UP to try this, try that, try the other thing. Let's keep going. Let's look for leverage points. But we're pretty much settling on what is going to have to be built in order to add the service. And so a few things are still shaking out, but we've taken a run at the big ticket items that we'd hope to remove, and they're still in there, at least for now. And as it, committee members can add in if they'd like, but we're not seeing any more movement after that initial deferral. And then we do have the whole section to the north to talk about as well. I didn't know if you wanted to ask any questions here on this segment or roll through the whole thing and then.
Does anybody have any questions from the board? None at this time.
And then moving to the north. So last summer at the joint meeting, the Valley Rail team left with the direction to expedite the completion of the Midtown Station and then expedite improvements of the UP South Sac Yard to accommodate a train layover, but also to look for some additional options for a train layover site. And then more importantly, or most importantly, continue those discussions with UP so that we could understand the requirements that they have for the north projects as well as the south. So for Midtown and Elk Grove, we had hoped to expedite both of these stations and move quickly through a construction and maintenance agreement with the host railroads. But we have been experiencing a few delays on both of these projects. For Midtown Station, we found a fiber optic line that's in conflict with the station. So it required some additional discussions with the utility. And after that point, we agreed to protect it in place. So that is essentially good news, but we do need to execute a utility agreement for that fiber optic line. And then we also need a construction and maintenance agreement for the station with UP. For the Elk Grove station and track work, the utility approvals with the utilities and UP are taking a lot longer than we expected. There are a number of concurrent projects. You've seen the ones that we have in the south. We also have Stockton Diamond moving forward, plus the projects here in the north. And they're going to essentially the same team in UP, and in many cases, the same utilities. This is creating a very large portion of work for each one of these teams to be able to review and approve our designs so that we can move on and through the design and into construction. For Elk Grove Station, we also need a construction and maintenance agreement with UP, and then we still have one additional right-of-way parcel that's needed. The layover at the South Sacramento Yard was being considered because it would be a temporary location before the North Natomas layover our station was complete, and then also would have a limited throwaway cost because it would be a very small station. The consideration of the North layover station eliminates, or we were looking at a focus on the completion of the Natomas, the Midtown, and the Elk Grove stations as part of the North. And so we're continuing to work at the Natomas station and the Natomas layover. We have had a few items that are creating a bit of delay. We need some geotechnical investigations for a retaining wall that we have at this location. We also have negotiations, active negotiations right now for the remaining right-of-way that we need. And because the project is partially located in the wetlands in that North Sacramento area, construction is going to have to be well thought through and sequenced to provide minimal impact to that environmentally sensitive area. There are 3 additional projects in the north that UP has required based on their operations modeling. The first one is Del Paso siding. It was planned to be completed with North Natomas, and so we're continuing to do that work on the Del Paso siding. On the Phillips siding, this is one of the locations where UP has really been a good partner with us in getting this project moving forward. At first, when they did their modeling, they saw that Phillips siding needed to be built after Elk Grove. But they worked with us. We had a lot of discussions with them. And now the construction of both the Phillips siding and the Elk Grove station can happen at the same time. And the only portion of the siding that needs to be done after is a very small final connection. And so that created a huge time savings for us. The track and signal improvements to 79 miles an hour is essentially a compilation of work that is originally contemplated in each of the individual projects in the north. The corridor is currently at 60 miles per hour. We'd like to run our trains at 79. So in order to be able to operate at that speed, UP is requiring that the whole north section be upgraded to 79 miles an hour. So we're working with UP to understand the signaling, what track work would be needed, what parts of each one of those individual projects need to be pulled out and pushed into this one project so that we can go ahead and increase the speed in this area. So in summary, we have the 5 stations or 5 projects here in blue with the track and signal at the bottom of the list. We have some additional Valley Rail projects. They're shown here on the right. An example would be the Sacramento City College Station, which is, we just got approval to start on the station work last week. So that will start moving forward also. So as a next step, my team, I am in the middle, as Stacy said, of reviewing all of the Valley Rail program. I want to focus on the outcomes of extending service, new stations, and new round trips, but also to incorporate these UP requirements that you've seen in the previous slides. Both the engineering and the construction of long double track sections for Lathrop Wives, 4, and some of the others, it's 5, 6, 7 miles long. They require much longer durations for the design process, and then multiple, if not numerous, construction phases for UP to protect their existing operations as we try to build it and connect in. And so these the other item that we want to focus on is the third-party approvals. They're taking us a lot longer than we anticipated. We want to be able to make sure that we can go back, reduce the number of submittals, get to those approvals quicker. But we're dealing with utilities like PG&E, our long-haul fibers, Kinder Morgan. And so some of these for these projects are getting more and more difficult as we go through the projects. I want to look at everything, not only from the project level that you've seen here in some detail, but the program level and also our funding. Because as some of these requirements are asking us to do additional things, we're going to have to look at how far our current funding can go. And with that, I'm going to ask Momo to talk a little bit about where we are with money. She's my new best friend here. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Good morning, commissioners and directors and chairs. My name is Momo Tamaoki. I am the Deputy Director of Planning, Grants, and Programming. So as Christine talked about earlier, she is looking at the holistic view of how we are going to deliver the Valley Rail program, and definitely funding strategy is one of the big pieces. So needless to say, Valley Rail program is huge. So it is funded with the various sources of federal, local, and state grants program. And as you are probably already aware, all of them come with different rules and requirements and expenditure deadlines. And so it is actually really hard for us to hold on to all the money that we've received to date. And so our strategy so far and then in the future also will be asking for time extension when needed, and then also asking for the flexibility to spend the money, for example, non-proportional spending, pre-award authority, taper the match approach and such. while also aggressively pursuing for additional grant funding to fully fund the program. As I talk to many transit and rail agencies within California and also outside of California, they are definitely facing with the same problems that we have. The projects are a lot more expensive and very difficult to deliver than what they originally thought that they would be able to accomplish. And so some of them were actually struggling so much that they were forced to return all the grants that they received, or they were also asked to just hold off on the projects for long term, or some of them just simply had to give up because they couldn't fund it. So what I wanted to really emphasize today is that while it's very difficult to deliver, it's very difficult to fund the whole program, we will do it. And then when we come back to the board at the next meeting, what we plan to do is to really share the results of the evaluation that Christine talked about, and that scenario, the delivery strategy when it comes to funding or even sequence of the delivery will look a lot different from what we originally envisioned. But I just wanted to really mention that we are not giving up. We will hold on to all the money that we've received today, and we will also apply for more grants, and we will continue to work with the host railroads, funding agencies, and our local partners to find the best solutions, best ways to deliver the program. So with that, handing it back to Christine.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Momo. So with the consideration of our UP requirements, with the funding that we're going to need to look at, with the projects that we can move forward, I want to be able to come back to each of the boards and discuss an updated approach to Valley Rail that includes these UP requirements. You can see that it's changed what we might have been thinking even as soon as a year ago. But I also want to take some additional consideration for procurement and the rollout of our construction. We're moving into design. We're moving as much as we can forward through design, but the next step is construction. And I'd like to understand our ability and industry's capacity to be able to build what we're potentially going to be able to offer to them. There's one other portion of Valley Rail that is always really important. There's always the design and the construction and the utilities, but the right of way is always one of those big pieces. And so this slide provides an update on where we are with our right of way. So for Stockton Diamond, we needed 18. We have all 18. So that's good news. Check that. In the south, we needed 2. We have 2. So check that one too. In the north, we need 13. We have 3. But the good news is we're working through and we're negotiating on, I think, almost all of the remaining parcels. So everything is in the works. Right of way isn't always, it's sometimes maybe a little bit tough to anticipate when it will finish, but we're actively negotiating and working on those. And so we have 23 of 33. And from my experience, I'm really glad we're only looking for 20, or that we only need 33 total for the whole program. So that's good news there.
Well, and I think some in the north are TCE, temporary construction easements. This is inclusive of permanent easements, parcels, and temporary construction easements. And so I think in the north we have 3 total parcels, but the rest of those are easements, either for laydown construction or just permanent for utilities. So it's actually better than it looks.
Yes, yes, it is. It is much better than it looks. So
Well, I think that's, Momo brought up an interesting point. When we started with ACE, when we got rolling with the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority, we're very collaborative with the other rail space players. There's not that many, and there's very few that operate completely within the host rail right-of-way. Caltrain owns their own right-of-way. Sonoma Marin Transit, they own their own right-of-way. North County Transit District, Oceanside to San Diego, they own theirs. So it mostly comes down to us and Metrolink. And so they own most of their right-of-way, but they have two really key lines they run on UP. And so we are all about, well, let's find somebody that's doing this better, faster, stronger. And Momo keeps getting the trophy. It seems like a participation trophy, but that really everybody else that has a program from that time frame, they are stopping the projects. And we are not doing that. We are grappling with the railroad to restructure them. We got the railroad to agree to take some out and let us run anyway, which they've not granted anywhere else. So there are a lot of positives, but it feels very slow. And we get pushed sometimes. Railroad reached out to me and said, you guys have submittals, Modesto series, a big one, and you've got submittals we need to get to. And they said, you know, we're being asked to jump into the Mitzi project with a whole bunch of technical work that's supposed to come after the environmental. And they said, can we put that on pause because we're not sure yet how high-speed rail is approaching this next phase. And I had to say yes, because otherwise they were going to stop reviewing Modesto and series. And so the railroad really is at their max capacity. Their new CEO is not a big fan of passenger rail, but we have a 30-year relationship with them. So they're plugging along with us, but they're not plugging along everywhere. And I think we have to keep that in mind as we do our next future, that the position of the freight railroads may be different, and unless we engage them in a different way that goes into goods movement help more so than we have in the past. But there is good news and less good news woven all throughout that, but there's not another model to look at to see who's doing it differently and making the progress when you've got these kind of volumes.
Okay, very good. We're going to go to questions from the board. Supervisor Hume.
Thank you, Chair. I kind of want to pick up where you just left off there, and I'll be very mindful not to step on closed session confidences, but at the Facilities Committee meeting, obviously we had a preview of this, and it was a pretty sobering conversation as we see delivery dates be pushed and slip and be pushed and slip, and complexities increase, demands increase. And so you talk about these other agencies that are throwing in the towel, at least temporarily, on some of the projects and some of the funding that they've already received. Does that free up any additional funding that could be pushed towards us if it's returning back to source, so to speak? Is that free? Because I know that's happened in other projects that I sit on where somebody else taps out and that money goes back into the pool and now is available to be drawn down.
That could be true sometimes. I have seen that happen as well. But this particular sources that I'm aware of, I think what will happen to those sources of funding that I've heard that they are returning probably goes back to like the one big general pot, and then it becomes available at the next funding cycle. Since those are discretionary grant funding programs, I think the pot gets a little bigger at the next cycle, and then the agencies can apply for those funds.
Okay. And then my next question, a little tougher question and probably hard to, predict the unpredictable. But, when I first joined this board way back when, it was kind of manifest destiny. Like we'd lined out, these are the stations we're going to deliver. This is the service we're going to run. Boom, boom, boom. We're marching toward this goal. And now as we, come up against hurdle after hurdle after hurdle, none of them yet have presented as barriers, but certainly they could be. Is there a possibility that we don't realize the fully fledged service that we envisioned to begin with? As things become more expensive and more complex, do we start to whittle away?
I think And it's in the midst of all of you doing project as well. Merced has big projects out of the transportation bill. So I think the complexity is really, for us, the simultaneousness. Do we curtail? I don't know that that would be the recommendation yet, but we might have to shift. We might have to find ways where we're not trying to do it all so concurrent. Like I said, we can do it on our side. We can get the paper ready and we can push the paper across the table, but there's nobody across the table to take the paper and sign it off. And that's been our problem. The team has done a really good job. I think last year we showed you submittals to the railroads are taking longer and longer and longer. And that was at the beginning when we didn't have that many, maybe 12. But that line is going down now. It's shorter and shorter submittals, but we have more and more and more and more. So we create our own problem. And Christine has taken a look with the team. We could be our own worst enemy in construction. We could make it where there's no bidders for our projects because they're bidding on our other projects. And so we have to think about the timing of that. Even if we had all the money in the world, please, let's get all the money in the world. We still have to be strategic about that. You can't have a low bidder that's a high bidder because no one else wanted to bid and you end up stuck. So there's a lot of strategy things we're working through now that relate to what you said. And hopefully we can report back more when we come back to both boards in the upcoming months.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the next question. Lisa.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to pick up where you left off, Stacy. So a couple of things, because we did talk about a couple of things, bundling projects, the last meeting, and we've talked more recently about prioritization. To your point, we can control what we can control, right? And unfortunately, a lot of these projects are not just dependent on us. But again, I think coming back down to the sequencing issue, what UP can get to, it may be we need to really start prioritizing these projects and say that, yes, we have 3, but the most important is this. We did that with Stockton Diamond being an example. So a number of us kind of gave up on our timelines to allow some of these bigger projects to move forward. And I totally understand the issue of having maybe one response to an RFP, because the fact of the matter is that's happening in construction and engineering all over. So that's a concern. Again, if we have to start thinking about this more about prioritization, and then also about, I don't even know the reality of bundling. We've talked about it. I don't know if any of these projects, now that we've heard back from UP, even have that hope. That may be off the table. 2 other things we talked about was transfer of funds. We may be able to use some money on another project. So it'd be good to hear about where we think, Momo, that could happen. But I also am concerned about the fact that if we ask for too many extensions, even if they're granted, are we being jeopardized in our request for future funding? Because we are now, it could be just the industry is seeing everybody's asking for extensions. But I also don't want to jeopardize future funding because we seem to not be able to deliver in the timely fashion that we're promising our federal, state, or local partners will do it. So just those are the things I'm keeping in mind as we're coming up with some solutions for both north and south segments. And I, you know, as I've said before, I'm not happy. I am comfortable with the Lodi station moving farther down the line, but I just sat through a short range transit plan yesterday in my city council, which referenced the Lodi station as the next step in the grant that we've received to do the longer term connectivity between. And I'm being asked, is it 2030 now? Is it? And I said, you know, I can't give you an answer on that. But again, we're all planning for and anticipating we may need additional buses, for example, and looking at our operating expenses and do we need additional drivers. So as our local budgets are trying to deal with this a few years out and do our 5-year forecasts, it is something where we are now dependent on us, the Rail Commission, to give us some sense of timing. Stability on that. So anyway, just a few comments. Thank you. Great presentation. Appreciate it.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I just got really a question of or a point of advocacy. I just got back from Washington, D.C. Friday, and met with the DOT and highways and the like. And they made it very clear that the administration was not interested in transit. In the words of the representative from DOT, they're focusing on, quote, big, beautiful roads and bridges, end quote. So whatever advocacy that you have to promote the importance of rail and rail transit, please do so, because that funding is under threat. And it's critically important as we're looking to get people over the Altamont and, you know, getting the workers and the housing together and making that work. So whatever contacts you have with the members of Congress or the administration, again, certainly promote the importance of rail and rail transit.
Very good. Any other questions? Any questions or comments for online board members?
Seeing none online.
Do we have any questions or comments from the public?
Seeing none online or in the room.
Okay, we'll move on. Thank you very much. The only comment I would have is, you know, I don't know the relationship between you and the UP and the government. So we just heard the government wants to focus on big, large vehicle travels. We don't need to give up on this. We can stay forward and stay focused. You know, we're going to, administrations change every 4 years. So don't lose focus. I mean, I'm a big car guy. And it comes to trains, I still support trains all the time. And I've done a good job, I think, over the last couple of years, bringing in funding for some of the projects when I talk to the people in Washington, D.C. So we don't want to lose focus, and we may want to build our relationships on who sits down with us with UP, with the government, so we don't lose track of who's talking, who said what, who made who promises to who. It's all about communication. And, you know, we've been talking about the Lodi station for a long time, and we'll get it done eventually. So
We actually had good news on that one.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad to hear it.
There's actually some good news that might make the project footprint smaller and more easily finished, design, and built. So, I mean, we do get, and it did require UP giving in on something, which they did. It looks like they're going to.
yeah, I think once the Stockton Diamond's done, we're going to see a lot more on-time performance happening. So I think focus on that one first, and then kind of get the little ones done as we go along. So if there's no more questions, we'll move on to the next one, which would be passenger experience update. David.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners and Directors. So the item that I prepared for you this morning really is an update on what are we doing to prepare for passengers in the Valley Rail program. But really that's balanced because we have passengers on both services today, right? So how are we taking care of passengers today in ways that build our capacity and put the structures in place to be prepared for passengers in the future? And really what we've heard from both the commission as well as the authority, and then as you guys have come together, what staff has really been directed to do is truly try to find like a seamlessness to the future. Like, how do we create a seamless passenger experience where ACE and the future San Joaquin service really feels like one service as much as possible. And we really do have quite a few projects in place in various stages to really reach that goal. And so I'll probably provide you an update on those. I think one of the areas that we just have to understand and really recognize is that the two services are different. You have a commuter service, an intercity service, and just by nature, they have kind of different ways of doing things. They have different histories as well. Who was sort of taking care of, like, you know, the commission has been taking care of ACE from the beginning, but the San Joaquin has been taken care of by different people over the course of its existence. And so some of the areas of dissimilarity today would be signage and wayfinding, ticketing and fare collection, branding, and the branding arrangements between the two are different as well. Customer service, customer retention, and loyalty, these are areas of dissimilarity. So over the course of time, we provided updates to you in a joint session as well as individually at your individual meetings about some of the projects that we have undergone or are currently undergoing, including signage and wayfinding, joint ticketing, as well as branding initiatives. So we'll give you a bit of an update on that, as well as what are some like very near-term things that both services are doing. So from a signage and wayfinding perspective, this is a graphic that we've shown at both of your meetings as well as here. We have gone through a very deliberate process in getting this completed. it's really important for a passenger as they arrive at our stations to understand, well, what are they meant to do? Like when they arrive there, and what are they we don't really want them doing when they are also there. And really putting these together, we want people to understand when they arrive at a San Joaquin station, hey, the signs look like this. This is where they're meant to go. This is where they're not meant to go, how they're meant to interact. And the same at an ACE station. And then in the future at a Valley Rail station. And as they're using this network more seamlessly, like that system really should match across all of the locations. So we've gone through this process. I'm happy to report that the timeline that is here before you is actually complete. Not only did the commission and the authority approve the signage and wayfinding manual, but also the committee approved the updates to the criteria documents for the future stations as well. So we've completed this project, and we are right now, from a next steps perspective, in the process of getting a designer on board to implement this into the current corridors in advance of this being implemented in the Valley Rail corridor. But the Valley Rail design teams are all implementing the manual. So really the seamless future for signage and wayfinding is well underway. From a ticketing perspective, we really have a two-phased approach. The first is ACE needs to update its ticketing system, which has much simpler requirements than what's required for the San Joaquins. And so that's really in phase 2. The way that this project has been constructed is that ACE would move forward. They would acquire and launch their ticketing portion. And then in the future, when the San Joaquins is ready, they would be integrated into ACE's ticketing program. And I'll talk a little bit about how that works. The good news here is from an ACE perspective, the commission approved a contract with a company called Cuba, who is designing, and we're actually just on the brink of launching the new ACE ticketing system to passengers just next month. And really it includes everything in this bubble over here on the right. So point-to-point passes, which is how we sell tickets on ACE. So you pick where you're starting and where you're going, and then that's how your ticket is issued to you, as well as a point-of-sale system for our in-station ticket sales. Our onboard folks will be moving from a visual validation to electronic validation, very similar to the San Joaquins. And this is the project schedule. So we were in development in Q1 and Q3 of this fiscal year, and in Q4 we're looking to launch. So the app launches next month. So really it's just going from one app to another. They don't work very differently, though they look different and they are easier to use. And so that'll be exciting. And then the point of sale system, so that in-station ticketing experience will change in July. It kind of puts everyone kind of on the same platform. And then in the future, as the San Joaquins needs are addressed, we'll be doing a separate procurement for those items, and then those items will be integrated. And so passengers in the future will go to one place, one application, and a station they can purchase a single ticket that utilizes both services. And then on board, the inspectors will really understand, like, well, how do you check tickets and how are those policies aligned? For phase 2, for the San Joaquins portion, the state has created a working group that includes actually several rail operators here in the state of California to really explore the unique features that the rail operators require that are different than transit operators, where the state, through its Cal ITP program, has had quite a bit of success with open payments and other things. But some of the requirements of the rail operators, like reservations and potential yield management in the future, where prices change, are much more complicated systems than what transit operators use today. And really they kind of got us all in a room and we're like talking about, well, what do we need to do? And what standards can we set so that each of us, whether it's MetroLink or the San Joaquins or whether it's Capital Corridor, can be working through what they need from a ticketing perspective, then at a future time really integrate us all in together, so that you could like literally buy a ticket from Stockton all the way to a MetroLink station in Southern California in a seamless way. The good news for ACE and the San Joaquins is that we're really in a positive position. We already have a mobile app vendor with Cuba. We already have a lot of the scoping work done for the San Joaquins. So we're kind of ahead of the game in terms of our own integration with ourselves, and with the standards set by the group, we should be well along our way in doing that second procurement. But we're also dealing with sort of the policy side of ticketing. So the ACE fare program was recently adopted, a revised version in March by the commission. And one of the key features of this was not only to get ready for the new ticketing system, but also to change some of the policies to align with the San Joaquins. So there's more integration in the future. And so Nick at that meeting had shared this slide where you can see some of the changes in like the senior discount aligns the two services together, and we provided a benefit to the ACE passengers. We lowered that a little bit. We aligned some of the way that children are sort of categorized on either service, and made some other clarifications, which again, when we launch a joint system, these are things that we would have to do in the future, but we're kind of like knocking them off the list today. And then from a branding perspective, one of the things that the staff discussed with the commission kind of around the 25th anniversary timeframe was this idea that in the future, there will be service on ACE that won't go over the Altamont. So one of the things that we have started to do is like on the side of the trains, it just says ACE. Like it doesn't say Altamont Corridor Express. It just says ACE. And in a lot of the marketing materials, we've also moved to that nomenclature where it just says ACE. And this is really a result of quite a bit of passenger research. We had some passenger groups, focus groups get together, and we just kind of asked them, well, like when you tell your friend like what service you ride, what do you say? And I think every single person in the focus group said, well, we just say we ride ACE, right? Like they don't use the entire name of the service. So we've been moving the ACE brand, like really just to be ACE, not the Altamont Corridor Express. On the San Joaquin's a little bit more complicated story. So the San Joaquin's brand is owned by Amtrak, and every iteration of that brand that you could think of is also owned and registered by Amtrak. And one of the features of the San Joaquin's and the authorities' sort of oversight over the service is that the vision is expanding. The way in which ACE and San Joaquin's is meant to work in the future really is sort of makes the branding more important than it maybe perhaps was at the beginning of the authority's oversight of the service. We also have other integrations with the other intercity passenger rail services, as well as future high-speed rail. And the authority is investing a significant amount of money in promoting the brand and the service itself. So the recommendation from staff and at the direction of the authority was to move the San Joaquin's from being a brand owned by Amtrak to a new brand that was actually owned by the authority itself, so that the investment, the management of the brand matched the ownership. So they put together a business case, and these are some of the key highlights, really moving from that management to ownership. The importance of the bus. Really, the bus is a huge part of what the San Joaquin's does, and investing really in the future of the service and putting the sort of the control of that brand and the way in which the passengers interact with that brand right in the control of the authority. And so when we went through a really long process of several board meetings, like sort of negotiating through what that brand name would be, and recently the authority did move forward and approve that the new name of the service, it will be the Gold Runner, will be the name of the San Joaquin's in the future. This is what the name is. It's not very exciting. It's just black text on a white background. But we went further than that. And the new mark for the service looks like this. So we are working through the process of what does it look like to transition the brand. Right now, we're still calling it the San Joaquin's. So giving this presentation is a little bit awkward, right? Because I'm saying the San Joaquin's, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking Gold Runner. But we did take some care in terms of integration as well. So you'll notice in the icon in the middle actually includes two triangular shapes, very similar to the two triangular shapes in the ACE brand. So there are like some connections here, and we'll have a lot of fun with that in the future as we sort of share those brands and put these brands together on signage and on marketing materials in the future. The next steps here, we're really looking to officially launch this brand in November of 2025. So we're working through all of the details of, how does Amtrak change all of its systems so that like the ticket says Gold Runner and their website says Gold Runner. We're working through our own steps and processes, but anticipate sometime in November, us inviting all of you to a launch event, and we'll really celebrate the brand name being changed. And this is my final slide. Just a few current service updates, things that the services are doing to kind of prepare for that future. We're carrying more passengers than maybe just today. First is on the ACE side. The commission recently approved its service for the 49ers for this upcoming season to Levi Stadium. They approved 12 trains. We'll be working through the schedule. I think it comes out like in a couple of days, and then we'll be giving more details out on that. They're launching their new ticketing system as well. On the San Joaquin side, we have an upcoming Allensworth trip. Allensworth is a state historic park between Corcoran and Wasco. It's the first Black run town and fully funded by the African American community after the Civil War. It's a really awesome place to visit. On Juneteenth, there's a trip that's coming up for that. If you've never been to Allensworth, really encourage you to take that trip with us. The tickets are very affordable. If you need help from staff, like how to book that trip, we would be happy to help you. And then they have their 7th round trip that's looking to come into service in October. Both services have taken a different approach to passenger appreciation. So passenger appreciation is something that we used to do on the A side, where we would show up, we'd hand people water bottles or bags or something. Well, the passenger said, we're done receiving Ace branded water bottles from you. We have like a whole closet full of them. We'd like something different. And so staff has really put their minds together, be doing all sorts of different things, like providing coffee, like at stations, breakfast burritos, like all sorts of different things, and really doing that across both services so that the passengers know that they're appreciated and that they're essential to what the service does both now and in the future. And with that, happy to take any questions.
Thank you, David. Do we have any questions from the board?
Just a comment, and I've said it at Rail Commission before. I think this is great how we are making this transition in terms of the branding sign out, the Gold Runner. Actually, it's a different question. It's just keeping in mind that people right now, confusion of, well, what is the Gold Runner? I mean, is that a new line or whatever? I think that's the education component of it is going to be a big deal. I think that the colors being the same is good, but I think that, not understanding the relationship between San Joaquin's and the Gold Runner, maybe something to think about. What I do look at is back to the issues of bus. It is great. Those of us who've been on the Eastern systems know that there's oftentimes a fare you can pay on the bus and the train together down the road. For those who have, like RTD's a big system, those who have systems in place that they can make that easy relay and purchase bus ticket that takes them to the train station. They ride the train, they come back. It's almost like a package of bus and rail. So I know that's off in the future, but just putting it back on the table again because of the importance of the connection of those two transit systems.
Absolutely. I think that's where the state working group really comes into play. I think that's the vision for the state of California as well, right? That seamless travel from your community bus station to wherever you want to go. And I think that's where getting aligned on the standards is really important because it makes that so much easier from an integration perspective. So I think that's the exact conversation we're having today.
Very good. Any other questions? Any questions online from board members?
Not from board members, but I do have a public comment online.
Okay, we'll turn it over to the public comments online.
Thank you. I have a public comment from Ryan Snow. I'll go ahead and promote you now.
Hey, Ryan, you're on. I don't know if Ryan hears us
Yep.
or.
No, I hear you. I was trying to get my audio turned on. Thank you for having me. I just have a question. I'm kind of late to this conversation as a frequent rider and a advocate for rail travel. What is the purpose in changing the name to Gold Runner, and what is the cost factor of doing so? Thank you.
Thank you, David.
So the history behind it, as I did provide sort of really in brief, is that the state of California is investing in the brand of the service through the authority. And really the way that the current brand arrangement works is the authority manages the current San Joaquin's brand. So we manage the social channels, the local passenger interaction, the advertising on behalf of the brand, sort of really the gamut, but we don't own the brand itself. And in the future, really, we don't know what the future provides other than we know that it's only going to become a more dynamic service environment for the San Joaquin's corridor, as well as all of the things that connect to it. And perhaps even some of the connecting buses in the future might not be operated by Amtrak. And so it's awkward then to have a brand that's solely tied to a single operator. And so it makes more business sense for the investment in the brand to match the management of the brand and provide that flexibility in the future for co-branding with ACE and for other services that might fall under the authority's purview.
Thank you, David. Does that answer your question, Ryan?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anybody else online from the public?
Seeing none for this item.
Anybody in the audience today? Seeing none, thank you, David. We'll move on. We'll go down to item number 9, the Rail Academy of California, Track C update. Good morning.
So good morning, almost afternoon, board members. Today I'm going to provide an overview and update on the Rail Academy of Central California. So the Rail Academy of Central California, also known as the Track C program, just as a reminder, is a rail workforce development program operated by the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission and Sacramento City College. The Rail Academy began on January 16th of 2024, and as of May 2025, 23 students have received their railroad operations certificates of completion. There are 17 students that are currently enrolled in the program that are scheduled to graduate in July of 2025, and the enrollment period is currently open for the summer cohort that's starting on May 26th. Here, I just want to highlight the success of the program. 6 of the Rail Academy graduates have already accepted job offers in the industry. Devin Adams and Lyndon Perry joined the Union Pacific train crew in Roseville. Moises Chavez, Pedro Medrano, and Jose Jimenez joined terminal switching services as conductors at their Union Pacific Lathrop Intermodal Terminal. And James Chase joined us here at the Rail Commission on board our ACE trains as a passenger services representative. The graduates have credited this program and the extensive postgraduate support efforts in securing jobs in this industry. In fiscal year 2024, we received a $300,000 state funding award through the TRSIP Cycle 7 program, and we received a federal funding award from the Federal Rail Administration CRISI program for $2 million. Both of these funding awards are for the operations costs of the program. In fiscal year 2024, we also received a grant for $1.5 million from the Department of Housing Urban Development for the environmental and design phase for a future Rail Academy classroom building and workshop that will be built at the ACE Rail Maintenance Facility. Just want to note here that without these funding awards, we would not be able to carry out the Rail Academy program. I also want to highlight here that we were awarded a $2,000 scholarship from the Women in Transportation Seminars Central California chapter for tuition reimbursement towards women students enrolled in the program. So Rail Commission staff is currently evaluating the first year of operation of the Rail Academy pilot program, and we are identifying opportunities for growth in order to sustain this program. We're actively meeting with our sectoral partners to identify successes and challenges of the program curriculum and metrics of success. Rail Commission staff and Sacramento City College staff created a Rail Academy Advisory Council, and we've begun meeting with industry and educational professionals to analyze the progress of the Rail Academy. We're also currently analyzing detailed budget and grant funding needs and have begun drafting an executive business plan for the Rail Academy that will be presented at a future Rail Commission board meeting. So here on this slide, I'd like to highlight on the left our current Rail Academy partners, and on the right, I'd like to highlight our partnership growth. Staff has met with the Associate Superintendent of Lodi Unified School District and the Superintendent of Ripon Unified School District out at the Rail Maintenance Facility to provide an overview on the Rail Academy program, and we've begun the process to expand the dual enrollment program to both Lodi and Ripon high school students. And we have started outreach efforts in both Lodi and Ripon, and we've scheduled tours for interested students to come to our maintenance facility to learn more about the program. We're also working with the San Joaquin County Office of Education's Career Technical Education Coordinator and the Division Director for STEM, Workforce Development and Innovation. And they are coordinating our relationship with all of the CTE directors at high schools in our region so we can expand the dual enrollment program opportunity. As a result of this, we're also looking into synchronous online learning so high school students can participate in classes without having to drive all the way to Stockton, except for the on-ground training class. We're also working with the San Joaquin County Office of Education to provide the Rail Academy as a resource on their Go San Joaquin website, which provides professional growth career opportunities to San Joaquin County. We're also working with San Joaquin Delta College on a future maintenance and mechanical program for the Rail Academy, and we're hoping to bring that online in fiscal year 26-27. And here I'm going to shift over to some of our new sectoral partners in the rail industry. So we're working with Terminal Switching Services, which provides FRA certified switching services at the Lathrop Union Pacific Intermodal Terminal, and they recently hired 3 of our graduates. We're also working with local Shortline Railroad Omnitracks, which operates the Stockton Railroad and Eastern Terminal. And we're going to incorporate hands-on training on board their freight rail equipment during the on-ground training class at their rail yard. We're also working with various community organizations. We met with Interns to Pros, which is a workforce readiness organization that provides resources to high school students and college students in Sacramento. We're working with the Love Never Fails IT Biz Academy, which provides career placement opportunities to underserved communities. And we're working with the San Joaquin County Family Justice Center, which provides victims and their families that are affected by abuse with resources and support services. And the San Joaquin County Community Foundation, which brings resources and partners together for the community. So as I mentioned in the last slide, we're working with the San Joaquin County Office of Education, and in April we were invited to their campus to present to their Career Technical Education Department, and we provided an overview of the Rail Academy and answered any questions. And next Friday, on May 16th, all of the CTE directors from high schools in our area will be coming to the ACE maintenance facility to meet with Rail Commission and Sacramento City College staff to discuss the dual enrollment agreement process. And then once all of the dual enrollment agreement MOUs are executed by the school boards between Sacramento City College, we will start outreach efforts to these high schools. So here I'd just like to note that we were invited, Rail Commission staff were invited by Rail Commission Chair Craig Hensley to the Lodi Read Across America event on March 4th and March 6th. We have James here who read a book called Trains Coming Through, my first book of trains. And we provided an overview of our service and talked about career opportunities in the rail industry to Lawrence, Lakewood, and Reese elementary schools. And staff gifted these books to the schools once we were done with the event. I just want to note here that we were invited to participate in Lawrence Elementary School's career fair. So James and I will be there tomorrow to talk to students about the Rail Academy and career opportunities in the rail industry. So to continue to streamline postgraduate and outreach efforts for the Rail Academy, we will be hosting annual open house events at our rail maintenance facility with our sectoral partners. And this encourages enrollment by allowing interested students to learn more about the program from current students, faculty, and staff. And we also prepare the current students for their graduation by allowing them to meet face-to-face with the hiring staff from our sectoral partners. We're going to continue outreach events with our growing list of community partners, and as we expand dual enrollment, we'll be performing outreach at career fairs to those high schools. Here I have a short video from the last cohort's on-ground training class, which has clips from the graduation ceremony and the open house event.
Everything I want to do, explore the world, great benefits, great pay, great people. I just want to do it all. Okay, I have
And then throughout fiscal year 25-26, we'll continue to meet with San Joaquin Delta College as a partner to grow the maintenance and mechanical program under the Rail Academy umbrella. And we're hoping to bring this program online in the beginning of fiscal year 26-27. Right, and with that, our current Rail Academy cohort, they will be graduating on the last day of their on-ground training class on Sunday, July 27th at 4 p.m. And I'd like to invite all of our board members to attend to support this group of graduates. The invite was sent out on Monday of this week from Ariana from the clerk email address. We also have a QR code here on the flyer to be able to participate virtually via Zoom. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Very good. Do we have any questions? Josh?
Yeah, this sounds like a great program. And I was just curious, has there ever been any consideration about bringing it south, like to Stanislaus or Merced counties? Because I can't speak for Stanislaus County, but I know at Merced Community College, they have dual enrollment with our high schools, and we're looking at different opportunities to do stuff like that. So I'm just curious or if it's just because of the maintenance of the facility here.
Yeah, so we're slowly growing the program throughout the East Corridor and beyond. And we definitely have interest from Stanislaus County and Merced County. So I know that we're bringing the synchronous learning online, so that way 90% of the program can be completed online. And we're actually working with some of our local community partners to see if we can find lodging opportunities at low cost so we can bring students here for a 4-day weekend to do on-ground training. So we definitely have started those conversations, and that's next on our list to grow the program.
Excellent. Thank you.
Vito, you got a question? No. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Yes. Go ahead.
This really is our future. We're talking about all these stations. We're talking about equipment. We're talking about, gearing up for the future of rail. And we know that that is an industry that needs skilled workers. So we're building our future in the investment we're making in these young people today. Even those first and second graders, Megan, that you guys came and spoke to, because we want them to understand a career in rail is a viable and it can be a lucrative industry for them to go into. So important work that you're doing right now. And I would just encourage every member to do what we did in partnership, and that is approach your school district, because there could be a potential partner. And I think we need to be the biggest advocates for this program with our local colleges and high school programs. So thank you and Tamika very much. And you've been very successful in securing funds. And I'm looking forward to One Voice to make that happen again. So thanks.
Thank you.
Good deal. Yes, sir.
Is that Lawrence Elementary in Livermore?
This was in Lodi.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I knew nothing about that. So I'm glad that it's the Lawrence Elementary in Lodi. Thank you.
Anybody have questions online? Yes, we have. Supervisor Burgess.
Thank you. Yeah, I just kind of want to echo what's being said, and that is the enthusiasm of spreading this program in other places. I'm in the process of building a youth center between Brentwood, Oakley, and Antioch, and we're also going to have another one close to Antioch, Pittsburgh area. And so there'd be great opportunities to incorporate that. We're also putting in pre-apprenticeship programs and other types of career prep in these youth centers. So this would be very complementary, and there's a demographics that would be ideal for these kinds of programs.
Thank you. Anybody else online from the board?
Seeing no others.
Do we have anybody online from the audience?
Seeing no public comment online.
Anybody in the room today?
Seeing none.
So I do have a question. How long does the course last?
So the program from start to finish is 7 months. So we have 2 cohorts each year. One starts in January, graduates in July, and then one starts in May and graduates in November.
Very good. I know I had a gentleman a young kid out of high school. He worked for me in my shop, and he went on to have his own smog shop and raised his family, and his son graduated high school. And so he said, yeah, my son, he's not doing nothing. He's teaching swimming at the air base, and he wants to be an engineer. I said, well, he go to school, be an engineer, And he said, well, a train engineer. I said, what? So he's in the program today.
Oh,
So I believe he will graduate in July. So I'll try to be there. It's kind of cool to see that, you don't hear people growing up to be a train engineer or working for the railroad. That's where you end up. So it's a good program. We ought to work in our local communities to tie it in and try to build it up. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, if there's no more comments, we'll move on now to board member comments. Anybody have anything they want to share with us today? Oh,
Actually, I want to point to what we've been kind of talking about regarding multimodal advocacy, because our One Voice trip is about that. Is Diane?
She is.
On?
Yeah.
Oh, you're here. Okay. Is Diane online?
Come on up.
Would you mind talking about One Voice for us all? So.
Thank you, Rail Commission Chair Craig. I'm Diane Nguyen, the Executive Director of the San Joaquin Council of Governments, and I don't mind at all giving a shout out for the San Joaquin Council of Governments effort on One Voice. Before I begin, I want to say, as we close out for lunch, welcome to our office here. I've been here at COG for 22 years now, but I have had the pleasure of working with many of you on this board. A few of the members of this board are also on the Council of Governments board. Craig, member Zuber, of course, member Areola and member Ding. And I also have the pleasure of working with Chair Verboon on the San Joaquin Valley Policy Council, where we advocate for Valley Rail.
and who's the most fun?
You are. And if you remember me way back when, I worked at the city of Elk Grove, and Supervisor Hume, who then was mayor and council member of Elk Grove, was my boss. And we worked on many rail issues, including discussing an Amtrak station stop in Elk Grove. So my history with this board goes way back. And in terms of what you've been discussing today, I want to say ditto. Ditto in terms of how the Council of Governments sees transportation investments as multimodal comprehensive strategies to serve the community. We also believe in cost-effective solutions and sustainable funding resources to deliver those services to the residents, not only in San Joaquin, but also in our neighboring counties. The One Voice effort, for those of you who are not familiar, is when the Council of Governments leads an effort with our cities and our county and our public transit providers, the Port of Stockton, and others as one voice in a delivery of about a dozen projects to advocate for federal funding. I recognize a comment made earlier about the Trump Vance administration and what their priorities are. And we're there, and we will be there May 19th through 21, around the corner, to advocate for a multimodal list of projects for transportation funding. Included on that list of projects are the Rail Commission's Lathrop Road, Lathrop Transfer Station, as well as the supportive project from CS Stockton and Rail at the Martin Luther King Rail project. That's among the list of our other transportation projects we'll be looking for. And it's not confirmed, but we are working very hard to try to get an audience with Secretary Duffy to talk to him about multimodal transportation. And if not, some high-level executives and decision makers and policymakers at the Department of Transportation. I want to close with saying that the Council of Governments believes very strongly that when we work together, we are stronger together. I have known Stacy Mortensen when I started in 1995 as a young planner at the Council of Governments, and I have been very much inspired by her work throughout my career. I consider her a friend to me, not only when I worked at COG and am working at COG, but when I was in the private sector. So I hope that this board knows that you have a friend at the Council of Governments in the delivery of multimodal transportation to our residents and our neighboring counties. Thank you.
Very well said. Thank you. Supervisor Burgess.
Thank you. I just wanted to report out that, and Tamika, you can give the who was there and all of that, but we had a subcommittee meeting in Antioch, meeting with the new mayor of Antioch, the city manager, some staff from the city of Antioch, Mayor Bernal, Councilwoman Tamisha Walker, some of my staff, and then Tamika, I'll let you identify who was at the meeting, but it was a really good one. We talked about the fact that the the station is in Antioch is decommissioned, but that there are other options possibly in the future, but really kind of gave realistic expectations, looked at the improvements they're doing, and members of the public were there as well. So I just wanted to let you know that we did have a meeting and it was very encouraging. Tamika, if you want to add anything to it, you can.
Thank you, Supervisor. Any other comments from the board? None? Okay, we'll move on now to Executive Director's Report.
Wow, that came fast. I thought you were gonna talk a little bit more.
I can talk.
I
will say, we do need to be strong in this new administration on the federal side. I know I spoke to Secretary Duffy for about 15 minutes when I went to the State of the Union. I gave him my card. His ideas are different than ours. And so we need to bring him into the mix and explain what we're trying to do here. And I know we talk about high-speed rail all the time, maybe separate ourselves a little bit, that we still have a function to perform, either with or without high-speed rail. I know we're looking for the future to plan ahead, but I think it'd be important on our one voice trips or our COG trips to get in the room and let him understand what we're thinking so he doesn't kind of dismantle what we've already got going. And I know the governor and our president don't see the same, but we have a job to do. And so we need to make sure the communication is open and our dialogue is strong and we stick up for ourselves all the time. So that would be my recommendation for the future. I know I'll do my part. I know I've had a couple of interviews here recently in high-speed rail trying to get me to say something that, because we fought them for so long. And then I say, well, when I get done telling my story, I want you to talk to Vito Chiesa. His ideas are different than mine, but we have the same goal in mind. So we try to balance it out. And I think we're doing a good job because I haven't read anything we've said. So that's good. And they're trying to lead us to say something we regret. So I think we've done a good job. So we got to stay positive. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, and I do think we have areas in common, and we usually do with every administration, every single one. And as we talked earlier about all this work on the freight railroads, that's really the goods movement pipeline of the country. That's important to this administration. So there's ways that we can partner where we have things in common to start and then maybe bridge into those areas where we might have a little friction. I do have one item I wanted to note. It's with a little bit of a sigh. Yes, Diane mentioned we've known each other 30 years. We noted at the last Rail Commission meeting on Friday, thank you, Mr. Schmidt, that it was the 30th anniversary of the first Rail Commission meeting that was held in May of 1995. It had a little bit of an ad hoc committee before that. So ad hoc committees can lead to good things. We had that on the JPA effort as well. We started with a small group and it ended up the JPA board. Same thing on the Rail Commission. We started as a COG committee and we ended up this body today that's doing so many things. And so last fall, I've been in this role for almost 30 years. And we're at a really interesting point in the program of what I would call some exciting and fierce execution. You heard today all the opportunities that have been developed over all this time. And so I think it's time I hand the reins over to somebody who can come in and take you to the next chapter of all these opportunities that the generations to come will get to benefit from the work that I've been honored to do with you. I started this conversation in the fall, was looking at, a kind of early to midsummer, maybe transition, but we had a big changeover in the Rail Commission board. So we wanted to get the new board seated to undertake a CEO recruitment, which is just underway. An ad hoc committee has been established so we can get some focused work on working with a recruiting firm and bringing somebody in. And I'm helping every step of the way. Love what we've built and who we've built it with. So I just wanted to let you know, this won't be my last meeting with you. It might be the last joint meeting with you, but I'll still be around through the end of the summer. And just wanted to thank you for that.
No, well, thank you. Thank you for your time served and all the help you've done. I know we've been together for 15 years plus, and it wasn't always easy because of my position. And so we've learned to work with each other and we respect that. So I do appreciate it. I did get reminded from past Chair Hume that there was no problem when he was the director. And so therefore,
Excuse me.
Just saying.
But I did say to Stacy, I said, yeah, but if something goes wrong, we got someone to blame when you're gone. So
Yeah, that-
we'll utilize whatever
Yes.
excuse we can find.
Use it all you need to.
Yes, so we wish you all the best, and
Yeah.
we know that you're going to be here with us side by side, maybe in a different role, but look forward to working with you wherever you find a fitness in there.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I would just like to follow up.
Yes, ma'am.
Stacy, I know, but this
Make her-
body,
make her cry.
as a joint body, I know, she didn't do it yet.
Yeah.
We'll work on that. No, really, you have been and will continue to be, I'm sure, an asset because your information, your institutional knowledge, and your willingness to serve it when needed in a advisor role or something is really something that I think that the commission values. And I know Leo and I have taken on the mantle of finding adequate individuals to interview for the full commission to interview. And it's going to be a challenge. It will, because you've set a very high bar. But we respect the fact that you acknowledge that there needs to be a succession strategy, and what's needed at that next level is that fierce execution, as you call it. So we look forward to working with you through the transition, and really are looking for input from all members of this body as we move forward. So again, thank you, and we'll continue working with you through the summer months. So thank you.
Very well said. Any other comments from the commissioners? Seeing none, we'll go for adjournment. The next San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission regular meeting will be scheduled for June 6th, 2025 at 9:30. The next San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority regular meeting will be at next Friday at 10:30 a.m. at Carver Hall Station. Cabral. Got it. Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.